This is one of Warsaw's most powerful museum experiences, Polin, the Museum of the History of Polish Jews. In this video, we explore the exhibitions that trace 1,000 years of Jewish life in Poland, from culture and faith to memory, loss, and survival. Some museums are about objects. Polin is about presence, memory, and a whole world that shaped Warsaw for centuries. Standing here in the Muranów district, you are not entering a single-theme museum, and you are not stepping into a place that only tells the final, darkest chapter. Polin is about 1,000 years of Jewish life in the Polish lands, how communities arrived, how they built homes, schools, streets, prayer houses, businesses, ideas, culture, and language, and how all of that became part of the history of Poland itself. That is what makes this museum feel so powerful. It is not only about loss, it is also about life, continuity, and the scale of what once existed here. Inside, the museum leads you through a long historical journey rather than a quick summary. The experience moves across centuries, from the earliest arrivals of Jewish communities to medieval settlement, the flourishing of towns and religious life, the energy of pre-war streets, the devastation of the Holocaust, and the effort to rebuild memory after the war. That is why Polin feels different from many visitors' expectations. It does not begin with destruction. It begins much earlier, and because of that, the darker sections hit harder. You understand not only what was destroyed, but what had been created before it. Visually, the museum is also unforgettable. One of its great highlights is the reconstruction of the colorful wooden synagogue ceiling and roof from gwoździec, and another is the gallery that recreates the atmosphere of a pre-war Jewish street. The museum itself stands at 6 Mordekaja Anielewicza Street in Warsaw, directly in the heart of Muranów. Right outside is the monument to the Ghetto Heroes, so even before you enter, the setting already tells you that this is one of the most historically charged parts of the city. Polin is also practical to fit into a broader Warsaw itinerary. It is about a 20-minute walk from Old Town Square, which means you can combine it with a day that includes the historic center, gardens, memorials, and a slower walk through neighborhoods that carry layers of 20th century history. This is one of the reasons the visit works so well on camera too. The museum is not isolated. It sits inside a wider urban memory landscape. For planning the visit itself, the current opening pattern is simple but worth remembering. The museum is open Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. It is closed on Tuesday. A very useful detail for budget travelers is that Thursday is free admission day. For the main visit, the core exhibition with audio guide, temporary exhibition, and legacy gallery, the current price is 45 zloty regular and 35 zloty reduced, with a family ticket at 95 zloty. Another practical point: the last entry to the core exhibition is 2 hours before closing, so arriving late in the afternoon can cut the visit shorter than expected. The museum also notes that you should leave time for security checks before entering. And this really is a place to give time to. Polin is not the kind of museum you rush in 40 minutes just to tick off a landmark. Even visually, it asks you to slow down. The building's architecture helps with that. From the outside, it is clean and restrained. But once you step into the main hall, the interior opens into dramatic, curving walls that feel almost carved by movement. Then the galleries change rhythm again and again, from illuminated displays to reconstructed interiors, from broad historical storytelling to deeply personal documents and testimonies. That range is part of the experience. Some rooms feel visually rich and almost theatrical, while others become quiet, sober, and difficult. It is that contrast that gives Polin its emotional weight. Getting here is straightforward. And this is where the exact details matter. From Warsaw Central Railway Station, the most direct public transport route is tram 17 or 33 toward Żoliborz, getting off at Anielewica. Another easy option is bus 111 or 180 to the Nalewki Museum stop, which is about 200 meters from the entrance. By tram, 15, 16 and 18 stop at Muranów, while 17 and 33 stop at Anielewica. By metro, the nearest station is Ratusz Arsenał on line M1, and from there, it is roughly a 1-kilometer walk. Coming from Warsaw Gdańska station, you can either walk about 15 minutes or take tram 15 to Muranów. These are the kinds of details that make the museum easy to reach without guesswork. A visit here also works best when you connect it with other Jewish sites across Warsaw. The easiest one is literally outside. The monument to the Ghetto Heroes stands opposite the museum and forms part of the same memorial landscape. From here, you can continue to the Umschlagplatz Memorial, the place associated with the deportation route from the Warsaw Ghetto. In the city center, the Nożyk Synagogue on Twarda 6 is especially important because it is the only pre-war Warsaw synagogue that survived the war. The Jewish Historical Institute on Tłumaki 3-5 is another major stop, especially for people interested in documents, archives, and the story of the Ringelblum archive. Then there is the Jewish Cemetery on Okopowa Street, one of the great historic Jewish cemeteries of Europe and one of the most atmospheric places in Warsaw. Taken together, these places turn a single museum visit into a much broader route through Jewish Warsaw. What is also useful here is that the area around Polin is not only memorial space. Muranów today is a real neighborhood with open space, greenery, and a calmer rhythm than many first-time visitors expect. The museum itself recommends extending the walk toward Krasinski Garden and then onward to the old and new towns, even continuing toward the Vistula. That means a Polin visit can sit naturally inside a full Warsaw day without feeling disconnected from the rest of the city. You can begin with history, continue through gardens and squares, and then drift back towards some of Warsaw's most recognizable streets and viewpoints. What stays with many visitors after Polin is not only information, it is scale. Scale of time, scale of culture, scale of absence, and scale of survival in memory. The museum makes you feel how deeply Jewish life was woven into Warsaw and into Poland long before the 20th century tore that world apart. And because the exhibition restores the earlier centuries first, the ordinary streets, prayer, commerce, family life, argument, creativity, celebration, the later sections land with far greater force. In practical travel terms, Polin is one of the most important museum visits in Warsaw. In human terms, it is one of the places that helps the city make sense. And that is why this is not just a museum stop. It is one of the essential visits in Warsaw. If this helped you plan Warsaw, subscribe to Bestravelvideo for more Warsaw videos. And if you prefer silent, natural sound walks, you can also find our ambient tours on City Walk Travels. In the description, you'll find affiliate links that support the channel, plus links to our books and ebooks if you'd like to explore more. Thanks for watching.